Hey, real estate rock stars, welcome to the whole enchilada of real estate investing, the only podcast that serves up the full feast of street smart strategies to build wealth and take control of your financial future. I'm Lou Brown, and I've been in the real estate game since 1976, so I've learned how to make the whole plate worth it. Each week, I'll be dishing out creative financing hacks and proven systems that help investors build multi-million-dollar businesses. No fluff, just the good stuff straight from the source. Ready to dig in and start making deals? Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another edition of the whole enchilada of real estate investing, and I'm so excited to introduce you to someone that I think you guys are going to learn a lot from, Holly Haws. And Holly, why don't we jump in and you tell us who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff, and then we can create.
Love it. Love it. Yep. My name's Holly. I am currently in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. And that was where I've built the majority of my business.
Interesting. So you actually left that market and came to an entirely different market.
Yeah. If the world isn't challenging enough where you are, just pick up and move 600 miles away. That's my motto.
Entertaining for sure. Let me ask you something. The properties that you built over in Wichita, do you still own those?
The vast majority, yes. We've
You are proving my concept of long distance investing, that you can do this business anywhere from anywhere, and like laptop lifestyle, right? That you didn't have to be attached to that local market. You were able to build an investment portfolio there and then literally move and still have all the benefits of that investment portfolio. What
That's right.
challenges do you have in long distance investing?
It's constantly people, right? Systems, processes, and people. So I'm pretty dialed in on systems and processes at this point. And people come and go, and you have to be okay with that a contractor is going to do a really great job for approximately 3 deals. And then they're going to do something bad enough that you're never going to be able to use them again. And you need to have the next contractor lined up and ready to go.
Oh, you have nailed it, my dear. I am
Yes.
aware and experienced in exactly what you just said. It's always a challenge when we are dealing with what I call con.
A lot of them really are contractors that they really do have a little bit of a spirited past. So there's that too.
Yes, indeed. And that might be why they are contractors. But I've definitely had some good ones in my world. And definitely we can continue to kiss frogs along the way, looking for a prince or a princess that might be able
Well,
to help us.
and I'll say too, it's easy to pick on the contractors, but it's every role in your vendor team. We think we're hiring forever. And just like you probably didn't take one job when you were 18 years old and stay at it forever, it's unreasonable for us to expect that any person in our vendor team is going to be a forever fit. And so people come and go, and that's part of our job as we're lead generating for new properties or lead generating for new tenants or whatever that looks like. We also need to be lead generating for new vendors to replace the ones that leave us over time.
Oh, that is great advice and definitely something everybody should take notes on. Holly, you got started in this business, and it's interesting what you were able to do over a short period of time. Tell us about your past history on getting started in this business.
Yeah, so I was a teacher after college. I taught high school math, and I really liked quite a bit of it. I taught for 6 years, and my last year, the year before last, we had gotten serious about paying off student loans. And so I was a teacher, my husband was a paramedic. We paid off $29,000 worth of student loans in a year, making like an $84,000 combined salary between the two of us. And we did that by working every extra gig you could get, tutoring, curriculum development, summer school, all the things. And so I got back to my last fall of teaching, and completely burnt out. I hadn't had a summer break, which summer breaks are for the teachers just as much as they're for the students. That's all I have to say about that. And I got back completely burnt out, but also after a whole year of working 60 or 70 hours a week, you can't just go back to a teacher's schedule. I would have died from boredom. And so I ran the math. I'd enjoyed our home buying purchase like most of America, and I ran the math. And if I could teach during the day and sell 4 houses a year and make as much as I had made doing all that extra stuff for a year, and I just thought about it and I was like, surely I can sell 4 houses. And that first 7 months, October to May, as a full time teacher, I sold 16 homes and it was just a no brainer. Real estate is in my blood. And I did like teaching, but I love real estate.
How about that? So you as first of all, as a teacher, you became a real estate agent
Yeah.
and you really said, "Hey, here's the bug. I can make some commissions along the way. I can augment my income and I can see if I can replace my income." Is that the kind of trajectory that you were on?
Yeah. It was that kind of silent hope. You don't really want to say it out loud, but golly, if I could figure out how to make 50K somewhere else and not teach, that would be cool. And sure enough, it worked out just fine. So it was right at the end of my first year in real estate was when we bought our first investment property, and the world just exploded from there.
The world exploded. That is exciting. Okay, so you became a real estate agent, sold 16 houses. When did you transition into actually keeping some of those properties?
Yeah, it was right at the end of the first year in real estate. My first 12 months, I sold 44 homes as an agent. And it was right at the end of that first year, I went on a listing appointment, and it was just a little bit different than all of my other listing appointments that I'd went on up to that point. I was trying to give this guy a very traditional listing appointment, and he kept interrupting me and saying things like, can't you just find someone to give me my price and help me move on quickly? He said something to that effect like 4 different times, literally kept interrupting me. And I'm like, hold on, dude, I'm trying to give you my presentation. And anyway, I finally heard him, but I didn't fully hear him. So I signed a listing agreement with him at a vastly reduced price, and I ran home to go find an investor to buy the deal to double in the commission, because what's better than making one side of the commission is making all of the commission, right? Yes. And so I ate dinner with my husband. I stayed at the dining room table. I let him clean up the dishes and go back to the kitchen and get that cleaned up. And I stayed at the dining room table and started calling investors. And when I hung up from the third investor, my husband, Chris, came back in the room and he said, is that true? And I was like, what? Everything that you just said about that property and why it's such a great deal. I'm like, yeah, it's a great deal. He's like, then why wouldn't we buy it? And it just hit me between the eyes. Like it had not at all crossed my mind. But we bought that property and that it started our journey of owning a lot of homes, of doing very well.
Let's talk about that first deal. So, how much equity was there in that property?
So we bought it for, and this was, you'll have to forgive the low numbers. We bought it 12 years ago. So think about what the market was like 12 years ago. We bought it for 22,000, and it was worth, I want to say it was worth between 40 and 50 the way it sat. We had a contractor in there who was very slow, and I learned a whole lot about through my very first contractor experience. Yes, very slow. He was hourly. He did not give me a bid for the job. He bid hourly. I learned a whole lot during that whole process. But after he was done with it, it was worth about 60 and would have been a really fantastic long-term rental. It was our first accidental flip. He actually fell in love with the process with the home while he was remodeling it, and he bought it from us 4 months later, which hindsight's 2020, I wish I would have kept it. However, we made the best decision we could with the information that we had. And so we accidentally flipped that one and moved on towards the next property.
Your intention from moving from that one was to buy another rental property, is that right? Or
Correct.
another investment property, I should say.
Correct. Yep. And so then we sold that one, I think, in November, and we bought our next one in January. And that next year, we bought 4 properties and then just kept skyrocketing from there.
Kept skyrocketing. So you had told me something about doing 35 properties with only 100,000. Was that because you were taking the profits from one, plowing them into the next, plowing them into the next?
So our first property, the way we worked it, no, is the short answer. We didn't do very many flips. We accidentally flipped 4 or 5, but we never walked into a property with the intention of flipping it. We always came into it with the intention of keeping it. And then sometimes the numbers just seemed so sweet that we couldn't. We were able to purchase 35 plus investment properties with less than $100,000 cash in a couple of ways. We got an owner finance situation. I had, again, traditional sellers as a listing agent that really needed to sell a property, and the market just wasn't loving on them very well. And it got to a certain price that I said, look, we either need to reduce the price again, or you can sell it to me and owner finance it for a year. And they were willing to owner finance it. So that property, I paid $3,000 as a down payment at the closing table. And then a year later, I refinanced it into a commercial note with no additional down payment required. It appraised for enough that we didn't need any additional down payment. Our first property that we kept, I only had $3,000 into the deal. And through that property, I discovered commercial lending, which commercial lending is beautiful. And a lot of people don't know that you can absolutely put a single family property on a commercial note, and you may be required to put 20 or 30% down, but you also might be required to put significantly less down. And so it can help you scale a portfolio a lot faster.
Interesting. So your bug happened as a real estate agent. So you transitioned from real estate agent to real estate agent investor.
Yep.
And would you say that gave you a leg up? Would you say that compared to folks out there in the world that are interested in real estate investing, that you had an advantage because you were a real estate agent?
Yeah. So my advantage was because I learned a lot of my reps on other people's money. My first few transactions, as I'm starting to piece together what part of real estate do I like as an agent, it was these investor transactions. And I'm like, why do I like them? Because they're not emotional. Either the numbers work or the numbers don't work, right? My first couple of investor buyers, they were sign calls off of some of my investment quality listings because I went after anything, even the really cheap stuff. And on average, those first 3 guys, it took me showing them about 20 properties before we got one under contract for them. But I learned every time we walked in the door, I was asking them questions. My first initial question was, pretend like I know nothing. And I'm sure they could tell I was brand new, but I thought I was so smart. I'm like, pretend like I'm brand new and I don't know anything in this business. Can you just verbalize everything you're seeing as you're walking through the property? And so they would say, that crack's bad. The bathroom needs gutted, the blah, 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 right? They taught me how to look at a property. And then we found one that was good enough for them to put under contract. And that clicked. And I was like, okay, now I can duplicate that. Now I can just go find 10 more of those properties and they'll buy 10 more of them. So I learned a lot of my reps help serving other investors. Once I had learned how to look at a property, then I changed the question and I said, can you give me a ballpark about how much it's going to cost to fix all this stuff? Well, it's blank for a bathroom remodel. It's blank for the kitchen countertops. So then I learned the pricing piece of it. And by the time we were actually doing deals ourselves, most of it I could do in my sleep.
It sounds a lot like my certified affordable housing provider field training. We do exactly the same thing, walk through properties, we've recorded them all, and we go through all the distinctions that you just mentioned, including the valuation, the pricing, the whole 9 yards. And people have that as a recording so they can go back and listen to. So I love that you had that experience. You were able to go through it with live investors that were looking at it from the point of view of, are we going to make money with this thing or not? And looking at it from that point of view of, hey, what about me? And if I could buy these things, what would life look like? And man, to build a portfolio of 35 properties, did you maintain that when you moved to Dallas?
Yeah, we're at like 42 doors. I always get a little confused, 41 or 42 doors.
Yeah, it's fun to lose track, isn't it?
It is.
I don't know. People ask me that question. I said, "It's a couple of hundred. I can't keep up. I don't know." But it's fun and it's been a great business so over so many years and it will never change. It's always going to be a great business and that's one of the things I love about it is because we're in the housing business and it's a basic human need. That's not going to change. And I think it's great to be in a business that people need, not want. And so it's never going to get less than or go out of style, I don't think. So it's fun to just be in that business and to get the benefit of the appreciation. Now let's talk about those properties from 12 years ago that you bought at the bargain basement pricing. I'm familiar with that program. I bought over 100 during that time and it's been phenomenal. What would you say is the X factor on those? How much have they increased in value?
They've all more than doubled. I would say most of my properties haven't tripled, but they've all more than doubled. And that says something. I used to, when I was really my first 8 or 9 years as a real estate agent, I would tell people when you're in a market like Wichita, Kansas, you're here for the cash flow. You're not, there's zero appreciation. We're here for no appreciation. We're here for the cash flow. And thank God I was wrong. So we've gotten appreciation and cash flow.
Yeah, yeah. When you're buying, and I told my folks back at the time, at that very time, I said, look, this is the wrong prices. Right now, we are buying at the wrong prices. You want to get as many as you possibly can, mortgage everything you've got, borrow from your mama, get every dollar you can get your hands on because this is the wrong price. The pendulum has swung too far in the wrong direction and in the right direction as a real estate investor. So definitely we're starting to see some of those cracks happening again. So it's going to
We
be
are.
a journey.
And I'm a big believer that when you're buying the right property in an area that you believe in, right? I don't encourage people to buy in the roughest part of town in the most horrible neighborhood you could ever step foot on, right? I don't encourage that, but if you're in a neighborhood that you feel good about where it's heading and that there's some upside here, then over time prices are going to appreciate and so's the rent. And so I'm a big proponent. You could be buying in any market. We don't have to wait for the cracks. We don't have to wait for the market to soften. There's no bad market to be buying in. You might have to be a little more patient in the deal that you're buying, but a decade from now, you're going to wish you bought at today's prices. And everybody every decade says that. So just get in and start buying now.
I agree with you 100%. This is absolutely the right time to buy, and it's always the right time to buy
Today,
because a
yes,
thing called inflation, right? Inflation is guaranteed, and it's always going to go up in value over time. So brilliant. And the other thing is our hedge against inflation because of the fact that it's income producing property, and we
yep,
can now get income at an increase each and every year. So that's one of the fun things that we do. And then we maximize our income off of each property by things called profit centers. So we've got 25 different profit centers over and above the standard real estate investment income. So those additional profit centers increase by thousands of dollars a year the income that we get off of each property. That's one of the reasons we love the buy and hold strategy and the cash flow strategy because you can maximize it and get an increase every year.
absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing. So now you have not only have you continued to be a real estate agent as well as investor?
No, no, my license went into referral status like 2.5 years ago. So I tell people we did things backwards. We built the business and I sold almost exactly 1,000 homes as a real estate agent in just under a decade. Yeah, and it was great. I stumbled into coaching, which is beautiful. It combines my passion for real estate and my background in teaching. It marries it all together, but working with adults who are actually paying for my services versus high school kids who never chose or signed up to be in an algebra class. And that has worked out really well. And we built the portfolio to the right level, built the business to the right level, and then we took a massive step back and started a family. So I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and another kid on the way. And I
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I say I'm like full time in coaching. I'm working 20 to 30 hours a week and just doing everything that I choose to do. And otherwise, I'm out there playing with my kids.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing, and definitely delivered, our business delivered that thing called freedom. And
Yep.
I say freedom is when you can choose what you do, where you go, how long you stay, and how much you pay for things. You are at freedom in your life. So that's a beautiful thing. And congratulations on getting to that place called freedom.
Thank
That
you.
is one of the things I always encourage people to think about. What is it that you're up to? What is your big why? And definitely you've been able to get a wonderful big why right there.
And it's years of effort and energy, which people tend to want to skip over to get to freedom, right?
That's right.
Like we had 3 or 4 years in a row that my husband and I both worked 60, 70 hours a week building a real estate business that ultimately fed the real estate portfolio, right? And it takes years to stabilize a portfolio. Even if I could have bought all 42 doors in year one, it would have probably been 3 or 4 years before I would have seen any cash flow on that. People kind of want to skip over all of that hard work and just look at success now and say, I'd give anything to be in your shoes. Well, no, you wouldn't, or you'd be working 60 hours a week right now. Go get a job.
That's what kind of sacrifices are you willing to make? That's a takeaway for everyone watching today is really make that commitment, make that time, set it aside, cut off the TV, turn in the cable, let them come pick it up on the front porch and just say, you know what? I'm switching off of all that quote unquote entertainment and I'm going to use and invest these hours towards my future. And when you get to that spot, you get to have the life that Holly has and that I have. And it's a beautiful thing when you are at choice in life. So think about choice. What does choice look like? What is it that you're up to? Write that down. Determine what it is that you want. Make a list of what you want and determine what the price is of those things. And there you have your big number that you're shooting for. And when you arrive at that big number, you can step back, like Holly says, and you don't have to work it anymore because you've got what you need. And you've got a guaranteed increase every year because of that thing called inflation. So rents do rise, and you should increase your rents each and every year. And that's so it's like a guaranteed income, isn't it, Holly?
And just to add to that, if you don't mind, it's easy. I think it's easy from where we're sitting to say, no, decide what your big why is, right? And someone that's just getting in there, just starting to think big, that can feel daunting and overwhelming. So, my big why when I was first getting started, and this is going to sound vague, but it's important, was I didn't know if we wanted to have kids or not. I thought I did, but I didn't know. And if I decided that we wanted to have kids, then I wanted the option to stay home with them if I chose to. I didn't know if I'd want to or not, but I just wanted there to be an option if we chose to walk that path. And that's pretty dang vague, but I'm big on giving my future self choices. And so that carried me through the first couple of years. That, and I think you need to be careful. People started attaching the word job to activities way too early. As you're getting into real estate investing, it should be years before you call any activity related to investing a job. It's that thing you get to do after your job, just like being a real estate agent was the thing I got to do after my teaching day. Like it was the fun play that I got to go do after my job. And if you can keep your brain from turning it into the work part, then I think you'll be years down the road from everybody else who instantly turns any amount of work into a job and makes it something that's painful and hard to get through.
I agree with you 100%. It's one of the things I've always said is that real estate is my hobby. It's a very profitable hobby.
That Yeah, but that's a differentiator. That's something that you do that most people don't, and that's part of why you are successful in a way that most people won't be. Yes.
It's not painful, right? If a hobby is something you're supposed to enjoy and you get to choose to do it when you want to do it. And so it's a profitable hobby, that's for sure. Well, Holly, what else do you have to share with us about your real estate journey?
What else? So when we moved, and this might be kind of off the wall and weird for you, but I love sharing the story. When we moved here to Fort Worth, our primary residence in Wichita, Kansas, a big 3,000 square foot house, I thought we were only moving to Fort Worth for 9 months. And so I needed something to do with that house for 9 months. But 9 months is a weird period of time, right? What kind of a tenant wants to come in and sign a lease for 9 months?
Right.
And so I explored a bunch of different options and I thought, what can I do with this? Long story short, I ended up putting keypad locks on each of the bedroom doors. And I rent out the 4 bedrooms in that house to travel nurses. Midterm rentals is what that's called on 30 to 90-day contracts. And that has been so fun. I've over the last couple of years while being here in Fort Worth, I've gotten to figure out what midterm rentals are. And if you're in the right market that has a lot of contract jobs, that can be a massive way to maximize rent potential on some of your properties. The model doesn't work for all of my rentals by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got a few houses that we've converted now into midterms, and it's a little bit more active management than a long-term rental would be, but it's much more predictable and stable than a short term, and the income is just as good.
Oh, let's talk about that for a moment. So, the midterm rental, and you're saying that you're zeroing in on the traveling nurses, which a
Yep.
lot of hospitals have gone to that because they don't want the long-term nurses because they don't want all that goes with that. And
Yep.
just saying, I'm going to contract you, you're going to come here, and you're going to stay here. So let's start with how far that first one was from, say, the area hospitals.
Yeah. So Wichita's a weird town. There's 4 decent size hospitals, and they're all 8 to 15 minutes away. So
Okay.
you want to be reasonably close. You don't want to be probably 20 minutes away from a major a level 1 trauma hospital would probably be too far. You want to be within 20 minutes for sure, maybe within 12 to 15 minutes.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so it's distance, time to get there, maybe not even distance, but time to get to the
Yes,
hospital and
travel
go home.
time.
And then what's your expectation as far as income goes compared to what the rental of that property would be or any property?
Yeah. So the way I teach it, now that I've gotten to experience it the last couple of years, to consider a midterm instead of a long term, the rent needs to be, you need to be reasonably guaranteed that your rent's going to be 150% of what it would have been as a long term rent. And there are expenses on that. You are paying utilities that you wouldn't be paying from a long term perspective, but 150% gives you enough margin. And most of mine that I've ended up converting have been almost 200% higher. And so it's been a no brainer to say, wow, like the numbers make sense.
So if you were going to rent a property for 2,000 a month, you should expect to have the gross income of 4,000 a month, and then your expenses will be charged against that 4,000. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And I would say if it's going to rent for 2,000 a month as a long term, you're wanting it to be 35 to 3,800 probably is what you're wanting as a midterm. My math, our house that we started doing that with, the long term numbers was 2,000 a month. Our midterm, it grosses 4,250 a month, which is just a no brainer. Like it's beautiful.
Yes. So compared, how much are your expenses on that 4,250?
It's $600 a month. And
About
I think
six.
that's rounding up, but that's utilities, that's lawn care in the summer, it's all the things.
Okay. Okay. So it's still highly profitable compared to what you would get as a rental. That's
Yep.
excellent. And definitely something that everyone should take a look at. I'm always into maximizing cash flow. They call me the king of cash flow. So I love when we can share ideas on what you can do with a property and long term even a midterm rather. I agree with that. Is definitely something that's attractive. I'm not a fan at all of short-term rentals.
Me neither.
Not interested in that daily kind of 2 or 3 day thing. No way, not interested at all.
I don't even think, I think even if we could stabilize and city and local governments couldn't come in and turn off your business at whim, even if that wasn't a factor, I still don't think I'd be interested in the short term model. But midterms feel different to me. My average tenant stays in my property for 5.5 months. And so I'm turning the average property 2 to 3 times a year. And for such a massive increase in rent, plus those are the best tenants in the world to have. They work 12 to 14-hour shifts. They come to your house to sleep. Most of them don't even use the kitchen. And if they end up with a 3-day weekend, they're going home to their family. They're not in your house to live in your house. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. And of course, for them, it's a lot lower than what they would spend for a hotel room.
And more comfy.
You look at the dollars per night that a hotel costs compared to doing, now you do your agreements in 30-day increments, is that correct?
Yeah, I'll write it for however long they want, but a minimum of 30 days.
Wonderful. And you said something just a second ago I didn't catch it. Okay. Anyway, that is just a beautiful thing and definitely something that I would encourage everybody to take a look at when you get a property. We've always got the exit strategy, guys, of the path to home ownership, and that's always our entrance strategy when we're taking a look at a property. We're considering it as part of our path to home ownership. However, when you get properties in a well-located area, then definitely the additional cash flow that you can get from it makes sense. And if that ever stops working, you still got the path to home ownership to put the folks into. So you've got the kind of the have your cake and eat it too program, which I love.
Yes.
That's great. Gosh, Holly, you've been doing some amazing things and you've achieved great success, and you're a terrific model to take a look at and learn from. And congratulations on your great success as well. Now, one final thing I wanted to ask you about is something about a trip to Scotland. And something you don't know about me is that my mother was from Scotland, and
Nice.
she came over on the Queen Mary as a war bride way back in the early 40s with the war and what have you. It's just an interesting thing that you've been to Scotland.
Yes. Yeah, I got to go my junior year in high school. I actually went on 5 different school trips, including Scotland, throughout 6th grade and 12th grade. And I paid for all of them by door to door sales, candy bars or t shirts or fill in the blank with whatever the item was. I eventually upgraded to calendars, which calendars, if you've got a kid in middle school or high school that's needing to sell things, calendars are the bomb. They cost $3 a piece. My school wanted me to sell them for $8 a piece. But I figured out that someone that was going to buy a calendar from me at 8 would also buy it from me at 10. And then I didn't have to carry around the change, and I made an extra $2 every time.
So you did your own resale program.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody's got to make the commission. I think I will.
That's right. But and again, there's opportunity everywhere. If I can between 6th and 12th grade go on 5 trips, including one international trip, literally with door to door sales, you can absolutely make it as a real estate investor. You just need to decide and then get out there and put in the effort.
Wow. Congratulations. You have done so amazingly well. And wow, just to be a go getter like you are is so impressive. And I definitely encourage you to keep the ball rolling and keep the things going for yourself. Now, those that are interested in talking with you or connecting with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, honestly, the easiest place to go get all my contact info is right on my website, www.hollyhaws.com. And I teach 1 to 2 free classes every month. For the next few months, I've got 2 classes a month coming up. And I'd love, if you're at all interested in learning any more about what I teach, just come sign up and then show up to the classes. So that's hollyhaws.com/free class. And you can register, and I'd love to have you attend the classes.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Congratulations. Keep the ball rolling and looking forward to working with you in the future for sure. All right, everyone. That wraps up another edition of the whole enchilada of real estate investing. Looking forward to seeing you the next time soon. Yeah, baby. Thanks for tuning in to the whole enchilada of real estate investing. I hope you're feeling ready to take your investing game to the next level. If you're serious about building wealth, you won't want to miss the Millionaire Jumpstart. It's a 3-day live event that's perfect for any level of investor. Whether you're just getting started or you're looking to scale, this can be one of the final steps of making real wealth happen. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now at millionairejumpstart.com and get ready to make big moves in your real estate journey. I'm Lou Brown. Until next time, keep hustling, and remember, it's not about how much you make, it's about how smart you play the game.